Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. McLucas, for joining us today. We're so excited to be honoring you as our community change agent at our gala this year. Would you like to share a bit about how you met?
Well, I was a student at Long Beach State at that particular time, and it was just a state school. And I was from a small town of Oxnard, California, which is north of Long Beach in the Ventura County area. And so I was attending a Black Studies class, and I was on, after class was over. In those days, Long Beach had what we called the hill, and we're walking down the hill, and I'm a walker that I have a little bounce in my step, and she started teasing me about the way I was walking, and I turned around and there she is, and so we had a chance to meet, and I found out a little bit about her. She was actually a cheerleader for the school, and I was actually the basketball player for the school. So that's how we first met. And that was back in 1969.
Mrs. McLucas, could you tell me about your experience being the first African-American cheerleader at Long Beach?
It was very challenging in the beginning. The same year that I tried out to be a school cheerleader, the VSU had a black cheerleading squad. So there was a lot of competition. So of course they had lots of rhythm and lots of different cheers and different from the school, but it was great. My experience I treasure today. It was a wonderful experience.
Awesome. Mr. McLucas, what was it like for you being a star at both basketball and track here at Long Beach State?
Well, it was a wonder experience for me because here I am playing with the big guys. I came from a small college, junior college in Ventura, the city of Ventura, and I went to a small high school, Oxnard High School, which it was mixed. We had whites, blacks, and Latinos, and I wasn't really used to being into the big city, but I was recruited, and I actually had a experience where my players were from all over the United States, from Detroit, Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, Ohio, and here I am from a small little farming town of Oxnard, California, and I'm playing with all these stars. In basketball, I led the lead in rebounding. I averaged 19 rebounds a game. I was first team All-State at Ventura Junior College. I'm also part of the Hall of Famer. I'm in the Hall of Fame there. And then when I came to Long Beach State, I was dual scholarship where I basketball and track. And I became one of the star athletes on the track team, which to me, there were athletes like Terry Metcalf. I don't know, a lot of people don't remember who these guys are. And there was Leon Burns on the track team, but I was the main guy. I was running the hurdles, and I did the intermediate hurdles, and I triple jumped, and I high jumped, and I became one of the leading points for the year, and I was honored for the most points, and I was actually on their program. They had me on the front page of the program, which I wasn't expecting all that. So that's just a little bit of my background when I came into Long Beach State, which really elevated me, and I wasn't expecting all that.
Mr. McLucas, would you like to tell us about the staff you're carrying?
Yes, the staff is it became a storyteller. I mean, it's in Africa. This goes way back to Africa. In the villages and in the different tribes, the elder of the particular village would all have staffs, and so the young people, the young men, what they call the rite of passage, was all about the storyteller. So I'm the chief, I'm the main man of the tribe, and so the staff would be handed down to the younger men. But with the staff tells all the stories, what goes on, their history and everything. So it is very important in Africa as the storyteller. So I carry this wherever I go because I have to tell a story. They want to know about this. And so it's just a great piece. Wherever I go, I get questions about, wow. And so I get a chance to tell a story.
Great. Who has been your biggest advocate, mentor, or motivator?
For me, I will say my mother, Achula Watkins Scott. from a small southern town, Hope, Arkansas. My mother is still to this day my hero. She's the only African American woman in the city of Long Beach that has a street named after her, Archuleta Scott Lane in the 6th District. All my life, my mother has instilled in me to be a strong woman. She also instilled in me never cry in public to this day. But now that I'm a grown, I cry when I get ready. But my mother is my hero.
And then, David, can I ask you the same question? Who has been your biggest advocate, mentor, or motivator?
Well, it would probably be number one would be my brother. His name is James McLucas, and one thing that we had a rival going. We'd be competing, we're involved in sports. That was always been somebody I could talk to, either it was a personal or a funny. We just had a great time together. So that person, I'd say immediately would be my brother. But then there was other ones like Amon Ra. He was, when I was a young athlete here at Long Beach State, I had a chance to get to know him, and he kind of showed me the ropes, and he was very political, and he helped me with the different trials and tribulations that I went through. And then there was Tap Nixon, who was an athlete too. Mainly the guys on our team. I really looked up to them because I was so young and green that they took me under into their circle and helped me get through the trials and tribulations that I had to go through.
When did you realize that community was important for you?
I would say all my life. When we first came to Long Beach in 1954, we lived in the federal housing for veterans. My mother showed the apartments to the veterans. And then we moved into the 6th District. My mother became very, very active in the community. I went to every meeting that she went to. She was a dynamic person. And she just instilled in my brother and I, number one, you never say, give me, lend me, and let me have. And if you want something, you start at the top and work yourself down. I still use those same things that she instilled in me to this day.
Awesome. Mr. McLucas, when did you realize that community was important for you?
Oh, right away, because you got to realize when I grew up in a small town, I'm going back to the small town thing, is when I came to Long Beach. Long Beach had, at that particular time in 1969, had a very small black community, and it kind of reminded me of being at home. And the first thing that I realized that everybody here actually worked together. They all knew each other. And so we kind of co-opted and got together, and it was like, what do you say, the village was involved in their community, which was really a great thing for me.
What has been your favorite community-based organization or experience that you've been a part of?
I will say the African American Cultural Center of Long Beach, because I was there from the ground up to present. I think that's so important because we're trying to instill in others our past history, our current history, and beyond.
And Mr. McLucas, what does it mean to be a community leader or advocate to you?
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility, I'd say there. So far as what I do, so far as my exhibit, I find myself playing a role where I'm responsible for the different things that I present and I say to the public. And I also explain to them, I'm not really an educator, but they always say, yes, you are. And what you're doing is very important. And like when we do exhibits for different schools, the students, they get so worked up to where they call their parents and they tell their parents, you need to come down and see this exhibit. And the first thing they want to know is that I'm the one telling the story. So it's very important to be involved in the community.
Yes, it's very important. And can we talk more about the traveling museum that you both share?
Well, our first big trip was to Canton, Texas, and we were with a group of people. And I say about 8 of us went, and it was a huge like flea market. And of course, David and I are looking for African American artifacts. Well, you have to ask the vendors in the South for it. It's behind the scenes. So oftentimes it's very sensitive. They don't want to show you. But then I just take out my card and say, this is for educational purposes. I want to see it. And oftentimes we will purchase it. And it's very, because they don't get that many requests for it, they didn't want it to be seen. But it's history. We can never forget what we experienced, the trials and tribulations that we went through. If I can show you how to get around the brick fence, let me show you. You don't have to walk into it. No, David will have another story.
Yes, you're the main storyteller behind these exhibits. What is that like?
Well, that is I'm going to say, emotional experience for me and for my tour group. It's funny when I do these schools and different things, the exhibits that we have, the artifacts that we have are showing features of Black people, which everything is like animated cartoon characters with big lips and big noses and everything's distorted. It doesn't even look like us. So when the students come in, the first thing they do, because they're naive and they're very ignorant, they'll start laughing. It's a big joke to them. Oh, look at that, looks like you. That looks like, and by the time I get through with them, they're not laughing anymore. They're not laughing because what they're doing is that they realize that these images are not good images of the characters that they say they look like. And so it has a great impact. I mean, it's something that I really enjoy getting into, and I enjoy getting the students' attention. After the tour is over, they come by, they shake my hand, they said, I had no idea. I will never laugh at an image like that again. So there you go.
And then, what inspired you both to create this museum?
I think it was a chance. It just happened by chance because I was already collecting literature books from the turn of the century that are hand-stitched. I have a very extensive book collection. I don't show it too often, but I have it. And then David had the music, and then we just started to go into flea markets, putting things together. I'm an avid reader, so I discussed it with him. We need to find something from this particular time period. So then he'll do his work, and then we'll come together, and then we will make these purchases. But we'll come out with more than what we intended on going through. It's a fabulous, fabulous field that we are studying and that we know.
Okay, what really got me involved? I was always a vinyl records. I was involved in that. Matter of fact, when I first came to school, I brought my records and I showed it to I'd be playing my records. But actually, I went to a flea market here in Long Beach. They have a once-a-month flea market, and there was an item that I had no idea existed, and it was a little bank. This was a cast iron bank. It was from the 1800s. It was an image of us. They had a man and a woman, and what you do is you put the coin in their hand, and then they would eat the bank. But the name of the bank was called a nigger bank, and I never, ever have seen anything like that. So the first thing I did was I purchased the bank, and I said, well, is there more things out there like that? So I found out that there was some literature on African American collectibles. And there's literally thousands and thousands of items out there. And so what I found out is that our image, when it came to advertising pieces and selling pieces, was always put on their products. And there was always horrible images of us on these products because they considered us being dirty, filthy, animal-like, all these different things. And so there was a wider range of products that are out there. And so my goal was to go out there and find them all. And so 20,000 items later, we created this tremendous exhibit that we have.
When we first got organized, people would drop stuff on our front porch. We live in Signal Hill. I was afraid. I said, oh, because some of these things are very sensitive. And, you know, I have a husband, I have a daughter, just a daughter at that time. We didn't want to endanger ourselves.
Well, actually, what these items are, they're family heirlooms that have been passed down from generation to generation. And these are mainly from white people, been in their families. And so what they would say is, you guys are doing important work, and we'd rather for you to have this than this to be sitting up in our house. So we get a lot of donations that way.
That's wonderful. Sounds like you guys have some really incredible artifacts. David, what would you say the biggest factor is
For students?
when it comes to increasing their educational success?
Well, I tell you, the first thing they want to do is be able to complete their education, whether it's in middle school, high school, or college. They really need to concentrate on that. I mean, put a lot of energy into that. And another thing that they need to do is tell their success. If they're working with communities and doing different things, if they're working with churches, I mean, brag about what you're doing. I mean, say, you know, show how active you are, and not get distracted. I understand young people today, there's a lot of distractions. You know, some of them are distracted because they have to work every day, you know, just to pay for their education. Some of them don't have scholarships like I had. And so my whole thing is that young people, if they can just stay focused, that's the thing, and be determined, they'll get through it. Now, they may have to drop back out, but the first thing that they want to do is get back involved again. As soon as they get settled in, get back in school and try to complete their education.
We must tell those behind us those stories. We must watch the documentaries on television. And we must always remember to pass the baton to someone behind us. Because our stories will never be learned. I don't want them to be forgotten. I want them to continue on and on and on.
Yes, I think our history is very important.
Yes.
How would you define Black excellence?
Oh, that's a vast subject. Black excellence. We must strive to be the best that we can be. We cannot climb to the top and not bring somebody with us. We must not elevate ourselves and think that we're better than those behind us. We have to share at all times, regardless of what size that we're doing. We have to give back.
David, what do you think? What does Black excellence mean to you?
Black excellence to me, is you. It's Black women, Black men, Black children. Those are excellent. I mean, they have all the abilities that they need to succeed. They just have to take advantage of it and move forward.
Okay. And how would you define being a Black scholar?
Well, a Black scholar to me is that it's not all about the books, but it is about the books, because you have to get a degree at some point. But it's also about every aspect. You could be a nurse, you can be an engineer, you can be a chef, you can be, did I say athlete? You can be an athlete. And that's a long range, and I'm a big sports person, so. And I think that our sports athletes, they cannot forget from where they came from, especially our athletes today. They make zillions of dollars, and they don't bring that money back to the communities. It's more than 4 lifetimes. I want them to share, not be selfish. We have a few that are doing that.
What does it mean to be a Black scholar to you?
Wow, it means a body of work. It's all about the research and the determination, and it's also, I'd say also it's wisdom. It's meaning that you've been there, you've been through the journey, you've made that long journey, so now you're bringing all this wisdom. And a lot of times wisdom comes with age. The older you are, that's why you should always honor your mother, your father, your grandpa, and all them, and grandma and all them, because they bring all that wisdom. Because you can be young and dumb too. But to me, that is the thing. The body of work is, to me, is the Black excellence.
Can you tell us a piece of advice that you heard as a student that stuck with you?
Yes. I go way back to 1971. We just played UCLA in the Western Regional Final. We lost the game. We should have won the game. Everybody was really sad and depressed over it, but I had to ride back to the hotel with the coach, and his name was Jerry Tarkanian. And he's telling me, David, I am going to continue with what I do now, with my career, whatever I'm going to do. And he says, you're going to have to move past this. He said, you can create your career just as great as mine as it is right now. And so that stuck with me for the last 50 years, because I realized that he went on to be a great coach, and I went on to be a great tourist in my actually forgotten images. So, that kind of helped me. I still think about that to this day.
And Mrs. McLucas, can you maybe just share a piece of advice with current students?
Never give up. Stay focused. Believe in what you believe and try to make it happen. Even as an elder now, I still have my own personal ambitions, things that I want to make happen. And I'm trying to do them now, before I turn 75. It's trying, but just stay focused. Keep your eye on the prize.
All right, and we'll keep that in mind. Our final question for you both is, how excited are you for the Black Alumni Scholarship Gala?
I'm really excited. It is always good to be recognized by your peers. We received a lot of criticism when we first started. I know people would say that I'm going into the Goodwill buying a bunch of fakes. And it's just like, oh, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. David and I have traveled. We've gone to all the Caribbean islands. We purchased all this stuff off our layman's salaries. That's our focus and how much we believe. And I just hope that it trickles down. I know it's trickling down to my daughter and my granddaughter. So it's wonderful. Like I said, trust and believe. Sky's the limit.
Did you want to add anything to that?
I'd just like to say thank you. I think I'm bubbling inside. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that 50 years later, you want to honor somebody like us. So I just really thank you for taking the time out to give us a chance to tell our story. And I'm going to thank you again. Thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you both for joining us today.
No, thank you.